Welcome to another episode of Presentation Hell Podcast. I'm AlexAnndra Ontra. This is James Ontra with me today. And today, as our special guest, we have Coach Wendy Stevens. Wendy is an on-demand marketing consultant, gifted speaker, and popular trainer at live events. She has leveraged her experience as a two-time All-American MVP, NCAA national champion, and USA Women's Lacrosse team member. She was also the head coach at Vanderbilt University that launched their women's lacrosse program. Fast forward 20 years later, after raising her kids, Wendy reinvented herself as an online marketer, kicking off advertising on the internet. She was one of the first 200 Google AdWords certified specialists. This is going back to 2000. And that's literally at the beginning of guerrilla online advertising, which has radically changed advertising and how marketers communicate and draw business today. Now, today we're gonna flip the paradigm a little bit, and Wendy is going to interview James and me. And because the question that we often get, most often, is, what is it like to work with your brother?
Our you get that question a lot?
All the time. All the time. And some clients... It's weird because, we each have the same last name, but James wears a wedding ring and I don't. And some clients are too polite to ask because, they don't want to pry in somebody's personal life, but they're wondering. They're like, what's the relationship? So
maybe this family's closer than they thought, right?
Yeah, maybe we're a little too close.
Well, it's funny. We talked about October of 2000. It makes me feel like a fine wine today.
But you get better with age.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't we all? But it makes me go back and think about James, my brother, and what it's like to work with him. And I want to ask you both, first of all, how true is it? Because in my head, I have the birth order handbook chirping in the background. How true is it that you really, the way you have in your head who Alex is and how you relate to her, how much of it did you drag from childhood into today?
Ooh, that's a good
95% of it. I think I beat the crap out of her with it yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Would you say?
How'd that work for you?
What? It isn't fully digested, but I think the revelations that came from it will be better for the long run.
Got it. So, Alex, do you experience the same thing, or what's it like for you when you?
I try to compartmentalize. I try very hard when I'm working, doing demos, writing emails, communicating with clients, that I am focused on work and building Shufflrr. I try to leave the 50 some odd years of personal bullshit. I said 50, I try.
40 years.
I think she said that about you.
I try. I didn't say I succeeded, but I do try.
So which one of you is oldest first?
He is.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
well, there you go. The dynamics
older.
begin. Okay, so let me ask you, is it something that you actually are ever present and think about? Like when you go into work, do you actually go, oh, my brother? Do you actually have that trigger?
Not really. I think we work pretty well together because I suck at what she does and I do things that other people can't do, and therefore we've been able to make it. There are frustrations where you want your brain to go into her brain and vice versa and just freaking get it.
And that's not going to happen.
But it's not going to, there's different value equation, and the hardest part is just learning your own personal value equation and how it fits in.
Well, to that end, we try to keep it like a company, and everybody stays in their own lane. They do their job. They do their tasks. And like he said, I'm better at writing and working with clients and operations, and James is better at finance and the overall software design and the strategic direction, vision for the company. So we just do our own thing.
Got it.
We all have jobs.
So is it a strength or a weakness that you're brothers and sisters?
Both.
We would not be in business
That's
for
true.
20 years if we weren't related. I think when you work with a family member, it's much bigger picture. It's much more
commitment.
It's much more than a job. It's much more than a company because it's how we support our family.
I can go to the pediatrician with my kids and not feel that my partner is going to be going, wait, you're taking a little more than I am, because it's feeding the same family. It's not, like a tit for tat that way, which makes it more comfortable because when there's needs there, it's allowed to ebb and flow.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So tell me, what are Alexa's biggest strengths that she
Her
brings to the
biggest
partnership?
strength,
Yeah.
she can plow through a huge document and pick out the nuance that should have been picked out to begin with. And for me, I would get through the 3 paragraphs and melt and run away and make some excuse until I can get it to her desk that I didn't really give it to her, but she did it anyway.
So tell me how Alex brings that to Shufflrr itself. How does that Jedi Knight skill set of hers, how does that help make Shufflrr an
I'm a
even
Jedi.
system?
Nice.
Well, it makes the actual account management a lot easier. I can whip up the froth. I can go in front of a room and make the senior level people understand and see what's going on and start walking in a direction. It's a big difference to nail that down in a contract, get it set up, push it through, and actually get paid at the end.
And that's like every company. There's vision, and then there's execution. And you can have a great idea, ask the Winklevoss twins, but if you can't execute it, no, it's true. It happens all the time.
I got it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's both. You need both.
So let me ask you, Alice, what is James' biggest weakness that you believe you really help support, where you can come in with a great strength, and so it's just a place that it's calling for more of your action and more of your being?
Yeah.
What would that be?
So James is incredibly passionate about what we're doing, and it's very personal to him. It's not just presentation management software. It's not just a company. It's very personal. And like most of us, when we care about something, we do it for our ego. We do it for our family. We do it for more than just the paycheck at the end of the day. It's why did you play lacrosse? Yeah, you like the game, but there was a bigger motivation there. For people who are driven, there's always a bigger motivation. And I think I can balance that because I tend to focus on, or I should say I try to focus on, what's the net result? What is the result I want from this meeting today? What is the result I want from Jesse, our coordinator, tomorrow? And I can just focus on that and leave all of that pressure and all of that passion behind so we can get to the next step, so we can get to the next level.
And when they stunt, I can go in the middle of it and blow the fucking thing up and make it right so that it comes back in order and we get going on the path again.
And
that's my frustration.
And I am the more professional, softer side of the company. This is why I talk to the clients, and he just comes in to say hello.
Got it. So what's it like to have the confidence that you really, like, literally your sister has your back? What does that do for you when you're out front?
It makes a big difference. It allows because you don't have to. You're supported. You don't have to double down just to convince that the commitment is there, because it is there, and the right decision on the right direction is going to be made, and you don't think you're going to be double crossed. That's a huge, huge thing.
So trust.
Yeah. Trust.
Fundamentally, that's it, because we probably wouldn't have been in business together if we weren't brother and sister. Because there were times where we took a step back and just took care of the family, where the business wouldn't have quite made it. And if it was just 2 people in a partnership, it probably would have fallen apart at that time.
Got it. So trust, you've got each other's back. So you from playing the long game, it's built on bedrock. It's solid, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Underneath that bedrock and solid can be some of those little quirky things that make you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the biggest one for you?
Quit screeching.
Screeching?
Yeah, just like if something bothers you, and it moves to that level, it cranks the whole thing up, and nothing ever gets. It gets out of control.
Are you talking about yourself? Or are you
I'm talking about
me?
you.
Oh, because I would say the same thing to him.
That's fine.
Quit screeching.
There's a certain level that, like, when like for me, I get emotional, and I get really passionate, and I will push through a wall that didn't exist, and all of a sudden, wow, that happened. I know that I push buttons, and I do it on purpose to get to an answer. And when I do, emotions crank to the top. And that's, and I know when it's cranking up and the things get really hot, I know I'm hitting the right buttons.
Okay, so when you were little, we're talking about like under 12. Let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
What was something that Alex did that just totally frosted you? Like, you remember it. It's the one thing that happened that she really set you off.
Really?
Worst thing she ever did to you?
Nothing. Nothing's been, there's been, actually, the worst
She don't
things
like
that
steal your G.I. Joes.
Yeah,
and
I'm the younger sister.
Actually, I get more upset about being not understood for the core motivation of what happened.
Under 12 years of age,
yeah.
what happened?
Oh, totally. At 12, she will
Give
tell.
me an example.
All right. This isn't something she did terribly. It was actually very good. But she will say, when I was 10 years old, I would stand and lecture about the difference between being rich and being wealthy. And the difference between the foundation of what you have to do to make enough money to be rich versus what you have to do to build wealth and get into the situation.
Okay.
This is a story you gave me about me, if I'm not mistaken. I remember it was in the third floor bedroom up there. But in any case, that's one component of it. I will confidently say there's nothing that ever pissed me off other than that.
Wow. So is there something that you can remember that just totally frosted you?
Oh man, I have a whole list.
She's got dozens.
Good. I want to hear them.
Well, it started when I was about 3. I was just minding my own business, and he came up behind me, and he cut off my hair. I had 2 long ponytails, and he took the garden hedges and just like snip, snip, and I was like,
"Oh my God, James!"
And then he
You're
did
lucky
it.
she's still here.
Yeah,
at
really.
all.
And then he did it to my favorite doll, and
20 years later, The Simpsons copied the same episode.
Yeah, there you go.
Who's cuter now?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
Oh my
there was
gosh.
that, and then
So, let me ask you, what are, just be super specific, when you're working with a client, let's say, okay? What are the 3 things that make you so proud she's your sister?
Is handling contracts.
Contracts?
When it comes down to putting the numbers down in the next steps, that's fine. That makes all the difference, because I can walk in and get everyone so excited, but then you got to get me the help. Then get me off the stage.
Okay.
And I can bring up something from nothing that never existed, but then the boat needs to go somewhere. I can build it from scratch where it never even dreamed of, put it in the water, see it floating, and everyone going, wow, that's cool. But then it has to continue going.
So could you do this without her?
I don't think so, not this particular thing. I could probably dig a hole without her. I don't think
you're
I could
digging
do
a
this.
hole right now.
Yeah,
Actually,
see?
you totally are
Trust me.
digging a
Not
hole right
even
now.
close.
Okay, James, top number 1 best attribute, and how he handles himself. For you, it makes you really proud. He's your brother.
James is a very good speaker, and he's very passionate about what he is speaking about. And James has a very good. He designs the product. So it's like Shufflrr is his design. He designs it. He draws it out, lays it out. It comes from a lot of different places and inputs from everywhere. But ultimately, he will put that together.
Got it. So visionary comes to life, and then practical, tactical makes it all actually work in the world.
That's how it works. You don't like. Steve Jobs needed Woznicka to build the freaking computer. He walked in and yelled a lot. Woznicka went and built the computer, and it takes a balance of both. There's a what is it?
I think that makes you Wozniak, by the way.
Yeah, if we pronounced it right.
Which is
Not
great,
a bad place
by the
to
way.
be.
Not a bad place to be.
Okay, got it. All right. So what's next for the 2 of you with Shufflrr? What's the way forward? What's the path and how this is going to evolve and how is it going to help companies?
Well, it's the basic structure of presentation management. Presentation management is an actual communication practice or a discipline that is not known. It is brand new because no one's ever really done it. We have managed communications on TV, on radio, on billboards, on print, on the web, podcasts. Everything is managed. How much time you're spending on this video? Did you click on this? Did you read that? Did you go to the Super Bowl ad and watch the commercial and go into and all that stuff's managed. There's trillions of dollars of business there. But for some reason, presentations have been left off. Even though presentations have been around since a caveman wrote on the wall, medieval churches were built with stained glass windows so the lights beam through as you walk by and it tells the message to a mostly illiterate crowd. A few years later, universities started to be built. Every university is built around a lecture hall. And a lecture hall has a chalkboard, a presentation up on it, usually, all of them. And so technology has come to a point where global organizations can manage their presentations and know who's saying what to whom, when, and where on a global scale. That's presentation management, that's communication management, and it's business intelligence.
Got it. So how does James style, his operating style, the way he speaks, the way he presents, how do you see that actually come into the Shufflrr system, or does it?
Well, I think to James's point that he comes in, makes a lot of noise, and leaves the room, that he gets everybody all excited and goes, I think is one of his best qualities.
So getting out of the room is the best quality. You know when to leave.
I heard that.
Look, it's time for you to go.
I heard
Stage
that one.
right, you know?
Got it. So I think about when I'm giving presentations, you always have to know your audience, right? Who are you speaking to? What are they really, what's in it for them? So when the two of you are speaking with a client about this system, what are you taking in from them? Are you taking into account their personality style, their leadership style? Are you taking any of that into account?
Absolutely. It's interesting as we get to know clients better, we're a lot more relaxed, and we'll rib each other, or we'll joke around with each other, and they'll start to see that we're actually brother and sister. If it's a first meeting or a second meeting, we're very formal. He's the CEO. He's getting everybody all excited, moving through the operations and how we develop your presentation strategy. So at the early levels, early stages, I should say, or with people we don't know that well, we're very corporate professional. And then as time goes on, we relax, the guard goes down, and we have a little more fun with it.
Got it.
And it builds better connections at that point, because then people like to see the human element when you do get there. Then it's
So do you have clients that have reacted definitely favorably because you're brother and sister?
Some have.
Yeah, some have it. It's
anybody negatively?
I don't know. They don't.
Not really.
Not that they'll tell us.
If they really don't like us, they're not going to buy our service. And they're not going to say, "Well, we didn't like you, therefore we're going." We're not buying. It wasn't you.
It's not you. It's me.
Yeah.
So, how do you think being brother and sister affects the speed of trust for them? Like, do they like you, trust you more because you two have your little banter, your little thing going on?
I think it might be, because a lot of times family business, you tend to a small business is sometimes questionable to trust. Because it's a small business. Will they be here tomorrow? Will they go? If I put my commitment of my, no one ever got fired for hiring IBM.
Right.
But the smaller companies, yes. But when you have a family situation, they look at it as more of a long-term situation. You will be here tomorrow. You do need to pay for college, and that requires a paycheck, and therefore you're going to call me back tomorrow.
Got it. So let me ask you, what else is coming with Shufflrr now? I know for me, when I was traveling and speaking quite a bit, to have something that's systematized, right? When I've got the structure and the flow of how a presentation is going to go, that actually frees me up in the creativity to even connect and channel my message even better, because the structure's there.
The whole thing is, it takes a higher level at this point of publishing. It's not just, when you talk about structure, I'll take a step back. If your company had 250 slides that told your whole message, who you are, what you do, how you do it, your details, the program, the London office, case studies, and if someone sat through all of them, they'd know everything. Now, if you could take that and break it into 25 10-slide presentations, who we are, what we do, how we do it, and they're set up, and then publish them, everyone in your organization pulls from those master slides. So every individual becomes faster, better, a better speaker, more compliant. You know what's out there. You know the logos are in line. You know the colors are right. You know the fonts are right. It's been approved. And then, since you're using this master library, much like publishing a book, you know who's reading what, where, and when, and you're now getting business intelligence on your communications throughout your organization. This is really powerful, because maybe your marketing slide gets used 28 times by 28 different people, but the values and benefits slide gets used 280 times by the people who close more business. At the end of a few months, you're going to be able to give direction on how to present. Like, everyone loves our history. Talk about the benefits. The benefits sell. The history makes us feel good.
Got it.
These are the types of things.
What's been the most mind-blowing trend that you've seen a company have their aha moment as a result of using the Shufflrr software?
We have a very large bank who suddenly realized just this past week that one slide was used 11,000 times through their organization. To be blown away by that number, that slide was used. They have 3,000 users in the system. That means several people used it multiple times. That means it was viewed as the most critical bit of information that people would be.
How fantastic!
And suddenly,
because nobody tracks that.
Well,
Back in the
well,
GoToWebinar days, it's like, I think I used that deck.
Yeah,
You
you
know?
think we
Really?
don't know.
Here's another.
But
example.
if I could know how people
Yep.
were going to shop, browse, buy based on triggers fantastic.
Here's another example. We have Charter Spectrum is our client. We had Bright House and Time Warner, and they merged together, and the logos came, and because of presentation management, allowed all their salespeople to be on the same page. I think there's like 2,000 of them.
Got it.
That's great and all. After a few months of doing it, they had a small team. You know Nielsen ratings?
Sure, of course.
Overnights they come out,
Right.
and they had a small team who every night would take the new ratings, format them for slides, get them ready, and get them out there so the salespeople can, the person in Cincinnati can go to the local Cincinnati car and say, hey, if you watched the NBA Finals last night, you would have gotten twice your rating, and blah, blah, blah. And they had 5 people working on this for roughly 10 years. They would do it every week. Overnights would happen all the time. After using our system for 6 months, they realized that the people weren't using those numbers anymore. They didn't need those people doing that for 10 years. And the reason why, it wasn't about the numbers weren't relevant. It was in the presentation, they just wanted to see Emerald. Oh, I like Emerald. That's good. That's good video. And when they wanted to buy it, all it is an invoice. Tell me the numbers and we'll calculate the invoice and send it out. I don't need the numbers on the slide. I want to be sold on the show on the slide. When I'm about to buy, tell me the rates at that time, and it's just an invoice. But the efficiency that was lost at what time? I mean, those slides might have been relevant for the first 2 years, but were the other 6 years just 5 people working full time doing something that wasn't valued or wasn't used? We didn't know that until you have a presentation management system. And then when you do it, you're like, wait, 5 people, 10 years, $5,000 a piece, 25 grand a month, 300 grand a year, 10 years, $3 million. Suddenly you're like,
Wow.
whoa, what just happened?
Right.
And that's just one small component of how inefficient presentations can multiply wasting time in a global organization.
Sure. And to me, it's just like going back to October 2000, right? One of the first Google AdWords certified specialists, I could split test every little teeny tiny thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't have a management software on presentations, I literally am just like making it up. I mean, I'm just like, let's try a new recipe. Let's try this.
Right.
And
And
you have
it's by feelings.
Right.
Oh, it felt good. Everyone
Exactly.
clapped. Everyone clapped at the end of that slide. Let's do it again.
I felt like this was a good way to do it.
And that's
And you're operating on poor information.
That's right.
Got it.
It's hard that way.
So this is really putting the power of knowing what's effective, what's not, throughout an organization.
Logical and statistical data to back up how presentations run and flow, as opposed to, I feel good at the end of the meeting. Everyone clapped and loved me.
Right.
A month later, why didn't anyone buy? I don't know, but there's no, unless you're really talking about facts and analysis, that's what makes it that much better, and it streamlines.
Got it.
And suddenly, one of the big things that comes from it is that it trains your individuals. Your whole staff gets trained better, because if a salesperson pulls up a slide on something they're not confident on, let me tell you, they're going to speak confidently to that person in the audience, whoever they're talking to.
Right.
And by the time they do it, you train them better than any study session for an exam you've ever had.
Right. So what do we look forward to with Shufflrr going in the future? We've got trends coming up that are enormous. How human beings are interacting with their devices is what's really changing, right? Voice assistants, etc. So what's Shufflrr's place in that for all of us going forward as we're looking for impact, influence, closing more deals?
Well, here's how it goes. Presentations historically have forced conversation.
Were you pulling out a presentation?
Yeah, I'm gonna demo right here.
Okay.
Presentations used to force conversation, right?
Kind of like the gold in the frame around your phone.
Yeah, they used to force conversation, and but what happens is, if I knew what we were going to speak about today, yesterday,
right?
Why the hell am I here? I would be on the beach somewhere because I knew what the hell's going on. I couldn't do that. But nowadays, presentations follow the conversation. In effect, if you said, wow, I like pizza, I would say, I make pizza on the weekends. And by the way, I have a story. Let me tell you about how I make it at the pizza restaurant. And this is how I make it in the thing. And I'm doing a presentation right here. These are all slides. This is my library in my phone.
The
it's already structured.
presentation is following the conversation.
That's right.
And we do that every day in our personal life. And Shufflrr is bringing it to business, that same process, that same exercise.
And that's how it does. And if you had all the slides on your business ready and you went into a conversation, your slides would follow the conversation. You would know that the conversation is going towards the water plant in Texas.
Okay.
And I've got a slide on that. Let's just put it up and I'll talk about that. And, oh, it's got good drainage too. I've got a slide on that as well. Just like if we're talking here and you said, gosh, I haven't been to Universal Studios. And I go, oh, I did last week. And this was my son. He made me throw up on the Hulk. That's a presentation following the conversation. We do it naturally with our phones today to reinforce conversation.
Right.
If you have that support on slides for your business or whatever it is, you will sell better, you will communicate better, and everyone in your organization will be headed to the right horizon. Beautiful.
So is there any special way that I should look to be able to use Shufflrr? If I'm going off in a direction of, say, adding 3 or 4 salespeople to my team, how do I prepare to use Shufflrr? How could Shufflrr, if I don't have Shufflrr yet? 3 steps. Very easy, awesome. But you got to know it. The first thing is I'll use your room's a mess. Clean it up. You don't want to hear that, right? If your room's a mess, you don't want to hear that. Well, your slides are a mess. You got to clean them up. What we do is just say, drag all them into one folder. Pick your best presentations, some videos, images, the things that are great. Don't curious about design or anything like that. Just put them all in one place. Once you've done that, then think about your business as a table of contents for a book. How would these slides look? How would the structure of the story go? A standard one is who we are, what we do, how we do it. Who we are has history of the company, the executive bio, the foundation, those are 4 or 5 presentations in it. What we do is our program and everything. You pull them all together, then you pick the ones and put them into the structure. Once you have the structure, you look at the whole thing and you start realizing you're missing 4 or 5 slides here. You realize that the logos aren't consistent and the fonts aren't. You spend a little time cleaning it up. Now you have a published library to go out, and everyone in your organization, those 5, 7, 200 people, will just go there and say, ooh, I need this slide, this slide, this slide, this slide, this slide. And in 4 or 5 minutes, they'll have 95% of their presentation ready to go, compliant, on space, and out the door. And that's what presentation management is. Fantastic. So is this the future of closing more business deals?
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because it puts the information right at the forefront. You don't have to say, I'll get back to you with that. Because the information's right there when you're talking about it. The presentation follows the conversation. No more, wait, we'll talk about that on slide 17. You're already talking about it. It's already there. It's reinforcing everything you're saying. Therefore, you don't have to have a second, third meeting because all those questions are answered right up front when it came up.
Right.
And that's critical because that's when sales are made, when communication's happening. Not when I'm dictating and lecturing you, but when we're communicating. Gosh, I didn't know that plant in Texas had a water drainage facility. Suddenly, you're deep into what potentially could be a sale.
So if a company's going to do a presentation and say 90% of the audience are women, does Shufflrr have some recommendation on putting together slides when it comes to the male or female brain? I'm thinking about my client, Dr. Amon. The difference in male-female brain, and that's not sex, by the way. That's an energy, right? Male and female brain, how they function. So how does Shufflrr deal with that?
Well, I wouldn't go I agree with the male-female brain dealing with information in different ways, the way it's digested, the way it's processed and everything. However, we feel it's more Hollywood-like, meaning every presentation's a story and every slide's a scene. Every scene needs to have, how do I want you to feel when you leave the scene? Is that scene supposed to emotionally move you to a thought? And then the next scene, which is the next slide, is about data and knowledge and logic to reinforce what's going on. And when you think of your presentations that way, where we kind of put it this way, the first scene should be emotional. capture the person emotionally, then present the data because they will use the data to reinforce what they just decided they liked. We can think of all the TV shows where they have a picture of a little girl sitting in mud and squalor, and it says, for 30 cents a day, you can save this poor girl. By the time you saw the image, you're like, I want to save her.
Right.
You've already made your decision.
Right.
Suddenly you're trying to figure out how to find 30 cents a day, and you're like, man, I go to Starbucks every day. 30 cents is not even the tax. And that is a structure by which you do it. So you think of your audience, and I'm not going for male or female, but you go for an emotional sale first, and once you've gotten the recognition, then you provide the logic and the data so that they can pull it out and build the case in their mind for what they want. Think of a kid wanting to go on a vacation. They already want to go. No matter what number you throw at them, they'll find a way to make it look good so they go on the vacation. Same type of thing.
Got it. Okay. Alex, what do you see, past 2022 for Shufflrr?
Oh, past one, explosive growth. We're on a trajectory, and then eventually we'll either go public or merge with another company. But what I see in 2023, 2024 is every CEO saying, what is our presentation strategy? They do websites.
And they find out there isn't one.
And
there isn't one.
There isn't one.
We make it up as we go.
They have a PR strategy. They have an advertising strategy. They have a web strategy. They have a social strategy. What is your presentation strategy?
Presentations.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Presentations chances are in between more sales than all those other communication strategies alone. Because ultimately, people, they read the web, they see what Yelp says about you, they read what you say, they go to your website, they reach out to a person, and ultimately, you're sitting with someone saying, is this going to be right for me? And it's a sale at that, and that's the presentation.
Right.
And that happens. It's not always slides. Sometimes it's me in person. Sometimes it's data. But that's the critical moment when it changes from, are you someone I'm pursuing? Right. Or are you someone that is now that we're working together?
Right. So, Alex, let me ask you. We've got probably never been, business probably has never been as competitive globally than as it is right now.
Yep.
Right.
And what's changed that? Part of what's changed that is we have the ability to live stream anywhere all over the world. Now we have, from bank wires, FedEx, UPS, we're so connected that things move faster than ever.
They move
On
very
top
fast.
of that, right, attracting and retaining top talent has never been so competitive. We can talk about why with the pandemic and everything else. But some of the challenges CEOs are having, talent, ever increasing competition, and that means ever increasing competition for sales.
Right.
Nothing more important for that than presentations.
Yeah.
I think you've hit the mother lode. I think this is literally a big key. I think there are going to be, when you look back to, I don't know the actual number, when you go back to 1970, I think if you Google it and look it up, you'll see how many of the Fortune 500 from 1970 still exist today.
Oh, still exists that are still on.
It's
It's
fewer
almost
than 20.
I was at 0. I thought you were at the top, but yes,
it's fewer than 20.
Yeah, totally.
So the top dogs today are not going to be the top dogs.
Actually, only 5 of the top dogs today were in the top 50 25 years ago.
There you go.
Exxon, Microsoft, just a small handful. That's it.
And
now you see Amazon.
You never
and all
heard of Tesla 15 years ago.
You didn't hear of Facebook. You didn't hear of. There's so many. Salesforce wasn't out there.
Right. So the point is to grab market share and really dominate your industry. You're going to have to embrace this concept.
Yes.
Whether it's Shufflrr or not, it just happens to be that Shufflrr is the platinum solution. So
that is correct. And really, it's about publishing. It's about publishing your slides for a communication story.
To publish your message.
Yeah.
Predictable, dependable every time.
Yeah.
I love it. It's on brand.
On
Talk
message,
about,
on point.
That's right. Close the deal, bring home the bacon, fry it up, and enjoy your party. Crack the cab. We're ready to go.
Whether it's in the boardroom or bedroom, right?
That's right. So here it is. Presentation hell. If you want to win, whether you're presenting in the boardroom or the bedroom, this is the place to be.